the devil hates: prayers, holy water, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Rock and roll?
Rock and roll? We never tried that.
I hate rock and roll.
Oh, you hate rock and roll. Well, wait till you get a load of me.
The 1990s were bright, flamboyant, and full of dubious choices. It was also a wild and unusual journey. The world transformed in unexpected ways, from the internet's rise to the cloning of sheep. Let's take a funny detour through the most famous, peculiar, and utterly ridiculous moments of the decade by boarding this neon-lit time machine. With a bang, or rather a full-scale military assault, the 1990s got underway. Iraq chose to invade Kuwait on August 2, 1990, in an attempt to spoil its neighbor's celebration. This marked the beginning of the Persian Gulf War, in which the United States and other foreign allies collaborated on Operation Desert Storm. The defeat of Iraq did not result in the final settlement of the situation until 1991. That year, while politicians disagreed over who should receive the final piece of the geopolitical pie, the globe saw a lot of missiles fly around on the evening news. In April 1990, the Hubble Space Telescope was sent into orbit with a significantly lower degree of damage. It proved to be somewhat nearsighted despite being considered to be the greatest eye in the universe. Its building error resulted in pictures that were as hazy as trying to watch cable TV using a bent antenna. After a few years and several expensive repairs, Hubble eventually began to take the famously clear images of outer space. Additionally, it was perhaps the costliest pair of corrective glasses ever produced. With a final cost of $2.5 billion, Hubble was observing space, while some Earthling nerds were developing the Internet, which has the potential to change the world significantly. With Tim Berners-Lee's public launch of the World Wide Web in 1991, users made their first uneasy clicks into cyberspace. Up until this point, scientists and a few giddy IT geeks were the main users. Facebook memes and viral cat videos were still a distant dream, but the spark was lit, and soon, no one would be able to imagine life without it. Speaking of impossible to imagine things, in 1991, the Soviet Union, once a superpower that made the West sweat, called it quits. With the declaration of independence by three major Soviet republics, Belarus, Russia, and Ukraine, the USSR disintegrated quicker than a pack of syrup. People could finally turn down the noise in their doomsday shelters for the first time since the start of the Cold War. Even when the world's happiest place, Euro Disney, opened its doors in Europe, not everything on the continent was magical. Violence was escalating in Bosnia-Herzegovina as Muslims, Serbs, and Croats fought for control over the land. Families were taking pictures with Mickey Mouse mere steps away from the scene of one of the bloodiest civil battles of the decade, which was the Bosnian War. Talk about a bizarre contrast. In the meantime, Jurassic Park director Steven Spielberg was working in Hollywood to bring dinosaurs back to life. Modern CGI technology allowed for the amazingly lifelike animations of Tyrannosaurus Rex and companions, which shocked fans. The world briefly questioned if experimenting with cloning was really a good idea. Spoiler alert, they would use sheep instead of cows when they did it later. The Oslo Accords, a historic contract between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, were signed in 1993. On the lawn of the White House, Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat even exchanged a somewhat awkward handshake. In an area where the term peace hadn't been spoken in decades, it seemed like a significant move in that direction. One of the most significant events of the decade occurred in South Africa in 1994 when Nelson Mandela, a man who had served 27 years in prison, was chosen to serve as the nation's first black president.
I, Nelson Mandela, do hereby swear to be faithful to the Republic of South Africa.
It was a historic win for everyone who supported justice and the abolition of apartheid, not just for South Africa. It was the epitome of a feel-good tale, authentic yet reminiscent of something from Hollywood.
I'm Rachel.
I'm Joey.
I'm Phoebe. I'm not doing this.
Come on.
No, this is a shameless, exploitive attempt to get people to watch our show.
In related feel-good news, Friends made its NBC premiere in this year as well. The world was forever changed on September 22, 1994, when millions of people tuned in to meet Rachel, Ross, Monica, Chandler, Joey, and Phoebe. We had no idea that we would spend the next 10 years witnessing their awkward relationships and amusing shenanigans. The year 1995 will always be associated with humanity going completely insane and starting to dance to the Macarena. This global obsession with Spanish dancing spread like a virus. Shimmying through those famous moves was a common sight at weddings, school dances, and office parties. While it lasted, it was enjoyable. Until the end of the year, when everyone discovered they despised the song. The American space shuttle Atlantis docked with the Russian space station Mir on June 29, 1995.
Contact and capture confirmed. Atlantis and Mir linked up once again.
A significant turning point in global collaboration occurred when the two former adversaries of the Cold War agreed to cooperate in space. Maybe they were all just distracted by the Macarena. If 1995 was all about dance, 1996 was all about cloning and intellectual showdowns. On February 10th, the world champion Garry Kasparov lost a game against IBM's Deep Blue chess machine, giving him a serious competition. Big questions concerning artificial intelligence were brought up by it, such as whether robots will take over humanity or if they would merely watch us play chess and pass judgment. Dolly the sheep was cloned in Scotland on the other side of the Atlantic. True enough, a real breathing sheep was successfully cloned. The science fiction of Jurassic Park seemed less ridiculous than it had previously seemed. Though Dolly wasn't quite the same as a dinosaur, we weren't exactly saving them from extinction either.
You're a wizard, Harry. I'm a what?
On June 26, 1997, J.K. Rowling first revealed Harry Potter to the world. The novel enchanted readers all throughout the world and ignited a literary movement that resulted in millions of wizarding dreams, midnight book releases, and blockbuster movies.
Welcome to your first flying lesson. Stick your right hand over the broom and say up. Wow.
One of the biggest disasters of the decade followed. Princess Diana, who was adored by many, passed away in a Parisian vehicle accident on August 31st. There had never been such a public display of mourning over her passing. Her passing served as a sobering reminder that even famous people can die. On December 19, 1997, James Cameron's Titanic debuted in theaters as the year came to an end. Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet won over audiences with their performances, and the movie went on to become the first to earn more than $1 billion worldwide. Let's just say that nobody was able to escape My Heart Will Go On despite all the emotional moments.
This is it! Hold on! Do not let go of my hand!
I'll never let go.
1998.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. These allegations are false.
Whoa, a plot twist that no one saw coming. In related pharmaceutical news, on March 1998, Viagra was released. Men everywhere sighed with relief, then hurried to get prescriptions from their doctors. The tiny blue tablet was the one that made all the difference. On September 4th of this year, Google was also formed. Today, the search engine we now use to solve every trivia argument, find recipes, and procrastinate our lives away was born. Back then, though, it was just a quirky little startup that nobody imagined would soon rule the internet.
Because even a single faulty unit could corrupt every other computer in the world.
That can't be true, honey. If it were, I'd be terrified.
8, 7, 6,
3, 2.
With the end of the 1990s, people were panicking about the Y2K issue. Convinced that their computers will reset to 1900 and bring down civilization as we know it. People began hoarding water and tinned goods. Disclaimer: nothing happened, but the general fear made for some fantastic news articles. The 1990s ended with a blaze of innovation, chaos, and enough pop culture moments to make us nostalgic for decades to come. Science fiction was starting to become reality. The Matrix, which debuted in theaters in 1999, fundamentally and figuratively revolutionized the game. One of the most famous lines in movie history was said by Keanu Reeves, resplendent in his leather jacket. Whoa! And to be quite honest, when everyone watched Neo deftly avoid bullets in slow motion while utilizing those incredible bullet time effects, That's precisely what they were thinking. All of a sudden, we couldn't decide whether the environment we were in was genuine or if it was a computer-generated dream. The film made you wonder about everything, including whether it would be appropriate to wear sunglasses indoors, and, more crucially, your reality and destiny. But as 1999 came to an end, The Matrix seems all too genuine in its fear of the Millennium Bug. People were now uncertain as to whether their computers would peacefully transition into the year 2000 or melt down like Neo unplugging from the Matrix. What if, at midnight on December 31st, someone pressed the reset button and the entire world turned out to be one massive simulation? There was a persistent suspicion as we jumped into the new millennium, uncertain as to whether we would awaken to chaos or quiet. Imagine if the year 2000 wasn't just a new decade, but a whole new game. Had we been living in a 90s version of reality, complete with bad haircuts, questionable tech, and that infectious Macarena dance, only to be rebooted into something new?
Game 7, Open Championship number 6. Jordan, open, Chicago with the lead! Ryan Russell with a